So we're going to talk about the distance formula in this video. The distance between 2 points, x1, y1, comma, x2, y2. So let's set up a Cartesian grid here. Okay. So say we've got two arbitrary points. So maybe this point right here is our x1, y1 point. Okay. And then this point right here is our x2, y2 point. So I want to know what is that distance from this point to that point there. So how do I figure it out? Well, there's an interesting property that you learned back in geometry called the Pythagorean Theorem. So the Pythagorean Theorem says that if we have a right triangle, okay, so a right triangle meaning there's a right angle here, okay, then if I do this side squared, if this is A, and then this is B, and then this long side, that distance is C, then the Pythagorean theorem says what? It says that A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right? That's the Pythagorean theorem for a right triangle. Okay, now the distance is not C squared. It's actually just C. So to get this, I take the square root of both sides, okay? And I have a plus or minus technically, but since I'm talking about this distance, I'm going to go with the plus side. So this C is equal to the plus square root of A squared plus B squared. So really all we've got to do is figure out what is A, right? And then what is B? How do we find that from just knowing these 2 points here? So if you think about it, this value right here, this point, has an x value of x1 and a y value of y1. And then this point right here has an x value of x2 and a y value of y2, okay? So to find this length this length A right here, means that we need to figure out how far these two are apart from each other. Now, how do you find the distance between 2 points on a number line? Well, if this were 1 and this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, how would I find the distance between 1 and 6? I would subtract them. I'd do 6 minus 1, and I get 5, right? So what do I do in general? I do x2 minus x1, and that gets me my A there. So I'm going to replace this A with x2 minus x1, and then what do? I square it, and then I have plus, okay? And then the upside here, well, what is that? That's the distance between y1 and y2, which is y2 minus y1. So that's y2 minus y1 for B, and then I square it. And so this, my friends, is my distance from the point x1, y1 to x2, y2. So the distance formula, if none of that really made any sense to you, the distance formula, D equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 quantity squared, okay? And so all you need to know are 2 points, and you can find the distance between those 2 points in the Cartesian coordinate system. So let's just take an example where I have the points 5, 1 and -1, 3, okay? So the first thing you do for these problems is you label your players. So this is going to be x1, y1, and this is going to be x2, y2. Now, could you swap those around? Sure, you could. I just picked one because you got to pick one. Label your players. So D is equal to, well, what is x2? x2 is -1, and then minus x1 is 5, and then squared, plus, and then what is y2? y2 is 3 minus y1, which is 1, and then square it. Now I simplify. Okay, I simplify. Minus 1 minus 5 is minus 6 squared. 3 minus 1 is 2 squared. Minus 6 squared is 36, and then 2 squared is 4. So this is the square root of 40. Now square root of 40, this will simplify. 40 breaks down to 4 times 10, and 4 is 2 and 2, and then 2 and 5 for 10. Now it takes 2 to get out of the house, so we have one group of 2 that goes out of the house. 1 2 stays in, 1 5 stays in. So this is 10 inside, so the 2 square root 10 is what we simplify to. Okay, so that's an application of the distance formula for you right there. All right.